Okay, welcome to our Easter challenge. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm Thomas from Bildungsurlaub Approval, and I'm together with Corinne. Hi, Corinne.
Hi, Thomas. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you all. It has been a little while since we've done one of these together, but I'm really excited to be back with you and to talk about Bildungsurlaub again.
Yeah, we are like an old couple. I've seen the first session we did 2019.
Oh my gosh, it's been that long ago.
It is, yeah, it is 6 years. Well, we have a full week or almost full week because of Good Friday. We're not doing anything on Friday, but we got 4 days packed with actions, and we got two lovely guest speakers. Bernice is coming on from Schools and Agents. She's coming on Tuesday, talking about blogging, posting about Bildungsurlaub, making the visibility bigger on social media. And we got Tamara, our very own content CEO, content writer. She's a freelancer for us, and she's writing our text. And she will talk about landing pages for Bildungsurlaub. And in between, like today, you got us, and on Thursday you got us, and today we're starting with the basics of Bildungsurlaub. Nothing much has changed. It's more like a quick reminder what it is, and we have some new schools, some new people. They probably don't know much about Bildungsurlaub, so it's all quite new for them, but we do that very quickly. So we're going through the slides and have a look about what is Bildungsurlaub in the first place. Bildungsurlaub means educational leave, and every employer in 14 out of the 16 German states are entitled to 1 week Bildungsurlaub every single year. In most states, they can save it up for 2 years, so they can take 2 weeks, but a lot of people are just taking 1 week, and they do it every year, sorry. That is one point we're going to look later as well, because if you play your cards right, you can have a very good customer for a long time, year after year, if you do it right. We're looking at the 14 states. The criteria always are a little bit vary from state to state. Like we have the minimum of 22.5 hours, clock hours, which converts to 30 lessons or 45 minutes. That is in most states the case. In some states, they do require 30 full hours. So what we do in most cases, because not many schools are offering 40 lessons or 30 clock hours, what we do is we add some cultural activities, educational excursions into the lessons, into the syllabus as well, to make it up to the required amount of hours, which is accepted or is even demanded by the state of Hessen. They want like 20% political and cultural activities or topics within those 30 hours. So that is usually quite easy to do, as long as you have like 22.5 hours, or we can do it with like at least 20 hours. But then we need some activities, and you would need to put it on your web page, because some states require that is actually advertised on your web page like this. Okay, so that is the requirement of the courses. A lot of times I get the question about funding. The state or the ministry, they don't fund the cost of the courses or anything. They get the time off. They still receive their wages for the 1 or 2 weeks, but they don't get any funding. So it is important to either know like what the client is willing to spend, and to keep it competitive with other schools. It's no point to make the course more expensive because the client needs to pay for it themselves. And it's good to know your clients. And I think we are talking about client avatar a little bit later. So it's always important to know who is my perfect client for my school or for this kind of course. A lot of schools, they have like 30 plus courses, which are smaller and obviously more mature people. And they have bigger groups as well, which both are possible for Bildungsurlaub. But you need to know who's my perfect client. Is it more like the executive client who is willing to pay a little bit more for the course, who's more mature, but also expecting more in terms of personal attention, smaller group, facilities, location? Or is it more like the younger professional people in their early 20s trying to have a cheaper or more affordable course, meeting the requirements for Bildungsurlaub so they can take the time off as well? That's why it's important to know they are paying themselves for the course. Okay.
All right. Well, I think, thank you for reminding us about those things, Thomas. One thing that I forgot to do right at the beginning was to let anybody who hasn't met me before, let them know who I am, because I'm sure they know you, Thomas. So as we said before, I'm Corinne. I'm an education marketing specialist. Why do I know about Bildungsurlaub, and why have Thomas and I talked about it so often? Because I live in Germany. So I'm actually eligible. If I wasn't working for myself, I would be eligible for a Bildungsurlaub. And it is a really interesting, unique, and very attractive program for people who are employed. So that's the main reason I'm here with Thomas. On my normal day-to-day, I work with schools on their marketing, mainly social media content-based things. But as I live in Germany and know the system quite intimately, that's why I enjoy working with Thomas and presenting about the Bildungsurlaub for you guys. Yeah, so shall we jump right into our first topic? And I think we're going to start things off quite easy this week because we've got some really great topics coming up in the next few days. But we thought a good place to start might be the newsletter, because a newsletter is something that everyone can do. It doesn't require a huge budget. Most schools already have a kind of newsletter of one sort or another. So implementing one or creating one for Bildungsurlaub is something that's very, very easy and doesn't require a lot of time or much budget, if any budget at all. So when we're talking about newsletters for Bildungsurlaub, you've got sort of three main types of newsletters that you might want to send. One might be to your agents. So that's your agents in Germany who are not specialized, for example, in high school, or something else that is very, very specialized. These are the agents that do have clients that would be your ideal customer.
I'm sorry, Corinne, we have a list of agents on our webpage specialized on Bildungsurlaub. So
even better.
Schools can always look it up. And
exactly.
I think that all agents are listed there, which do a lot of Bildungsurlaub. Keeping in mind, some agents are not based in Germany, but they're still big on the German market for Bildungsurlaub. So yeah, best to have a look on our webpage under the agents. You find their email as well. You can contact them. Say hello from us.
So it's not even that you have to look through your own agent database and work it out. Thomas has gone and prepared that all for you. So there's really no excuse not to send out a newsletter. The next category of newsletter that you might want to send out is to your former students. And I would even go as far as saying not just former students, also German students or German people that you have in your database that have opted into your newsletter. So maybe they haven't been a student at your school yet, but in one way or another, they have opted into your newsletter. So I'm sure that you all have databases that you can go through and search for your former German students and any other Germans who have opted in for receiving email correspondence with you. The third kind of newsletter you may want to send is to companies, whether they are your partners or you identify some companies that you might want to approach and perhaps talk about a partnership with. However, that's a bit different from the newsletters that you might want to send to agents or former students. All righty, let me change the slide. So when we sort of start to break down newsletters, I'm going to focus in on former students or Germans in your database mainly, because I think for all of us, aside from agents who you probably are in quite regular communication with anyway, this is probably your largest group that you can email out to, and therefore let's sort of dig into that. So the first thing to consider is that we want to send targeted emails. Now that may seem like a no-brainer, but there's two things that I want you to absolutely consider. Please filter for your ideal customer or even your potential ideal customer. Now, Thomas mentioned your ideal client avatar. That's something that I'm not going to deep dive into right now, but it is, if you haven't already thought about who your ideal Bildungsurlaub customer might be, feel free to reach out to Thomas, ask him some questions, pick his brain, because he has some really great resources on client avatars and who those people might be. I've extended that to even potential ideal customers. Now, what do I mean about that? So for example, say you've had a German come to your school and done a general English course, and they were, let's say, 17, 18. So a later high school, pre-university client. Keep them in your database, because potentially if they've gone on to university, they've got their qualification or have done some kind of training and are now a working professional, they could very well be your potential customer, even though when they came to you, they were a high school student. So just keep that in the back of your mind that, you know, obviously time goes on. Students that were simply high school students at one point could very well be professional now and qualify to take a Bildungsurlaub. And this next point, it seems very, very self-explanatory and easy, but please, at least if there's no other filters that you apply, please filter for German, and not German speakers, Germans. Because Austria, Switzerland, they do not have this particular program. It's just for Germans. So if you're looking at your former student database, make sure you filter for country and not language group.
Yeah. I have to say, not only Germans can do it, but people in Germany being employed in Germany.
Correct. Yeah, people that
so it's not the nationality. It's like the
exactly. It's where they're living.
Like Kiwis in Germany.
Exactly, like Kiwis. All right. The next point I wanted to talk about was frequency. Now, this can be a little bit of a touchy subject. I culturally, or not even culturally, or maybe I've adapted to the culture, Germans are not people that like to be inundated with emails. We're quite sensitive about our private sphere. We're quite sensitive to work-life balance. The last thing we want is to have a weekly email in our inbox about, you know, all kinds of things. So we want good quality emails that come at a regular frequency. Once a year is not enough. You know, that's not going to pick you, that's not likely to attract any Bildungsurlaub participants to your school. I would aim probably for once a quarter. Once a quarter, you don't need to rewrite the newsletter completely. You can keep some sections the same. Just give a bit of a refresh, swap out some photos so it looks a little bit different. But once a quarter is enough to keep the idea in their heads without making them feel like they're being bombarded or, are being stressed by too many emails. One thing that's very important is to always include an unsubscribe. One thing that Germans are great for, if they're not interested, they will just simply remove themselves from that group. So that way, you know where you stand. You know that, okay, this person's not particularly interested, and you can move along. Now, something that's really important is content. And there's two main points that I want to mention to start with the content, and that is keeping it to the point. Probably from your own personal experience, if you receive an email, especially any kind of sales marketing email, if it is really long, you're just not going to read it. You might read first paragraph, you might get a little bit further, but if it's really full of text and really text heavy, you're just not going to read that email. So what we want to do is make it to the point, and the best way to keep people's attention is to divide it into small sections. So maybe your email has 4 single sections where you make a few different points about the Bildungsurlaub as a whole. We're going to go a little bit deeper into this in just a second. There we go. One really important thing to do is include links. So in your newsletter, you want to have these small sections, and if somebody reads that small section and is interested, then they need a link out to where to go next. And so one of the most important things is to have a Bildungsurlaub landing page where you have your information on Bildungsurlaub there. Tamara, and I've got Thursday there on the slide, but it's actually Wednesday. Tamara is going to go over landing pages with you in more detail on Wednesday and really go over how to make a really impactful Bildungsurlaub landing page for your website. So I think that's really crucial. You don't want to include all the information you possibly can on Bildungsurlaub in that newsletter. You want to give them a taster, you want to bring them in, attract them, and then you want to send them off to your landing page and, by extension, your website. The other really important thing to do is include a link to either the application or a contact page, and that page needs to be clear and it needs to be easy to fill out. Again, think of your personal experiences. If you come face to face with a contact or an application form that is not easy to fill out, that is not straightforward, do you fill it out? Well, unless it's something that is crucially important to your life, the answer is no. The minute you start getting all kinds of strange questions or questions that are just really over and above, or too many, compulsory questions, people start to feel like it's too much and they won't fill it out. Just think about that. Make sure that your application form or your contact form is nice and easy and will take them the least amount of time possible to fill it out, get their email address, because in reality, the sales are not going to happen directly from this newsletter. At least that's not likely. The sales happen once you've established contact with that person, had a conversation with that person, let them get to know you and your school. And that's where the magic happens. So that's what we want to do. We want to get people to contact you and to start those conversations as quickly and as easily as possible.
But if it comes to application or to the booking form, it makes it easier for you or your admin team and for the student as well if you add for the German Bildungsurlaub clients one more section. Do you want Bildungsurlaub? If yes, which state? Because then you know which documents you need to send the client, and the client knows, okay, they know what they're doing. They obviously have the Bildungsurlaub approval, so they feel more like reassured that they're booking the right product with you.
Absolutely, and it also gives you a bit of time that before you have that first conversation, you can already prepare and make sure you have all of the information at hand, that you're not saying, oh, let me check which state. You've got that information at hand. It's just another way that you appear to be extremely efficient, professional, and Germans do like that. Okay, well, the last aspect of newsletters that I wanted to touch on, and I know that we've sort of whipped through this, and there is, of course, we could expand on each of these areas, but one thing that is really super important, because it really is the first thing that people see, and that is your subject line. Now, I know that many people use different tools, for example, MailChimp, and there's lots of other ones which are wonderful, to help send out their bulk emails. And one thing that all of those platforms do these days is offer sort of like an AI tool to write the perfect subject line. Now, there's a few things that I want to caution you on in using these, AI subject lines for emails, particularly to your German clients. Again, I want you to think about your audience. We're talking about definitely professionals, potentially young professionals, or people who hold positions where, maybe it is somebody higher up in the company and they want to go and, polish up on their English. And it's, they think about who you're talking to. These are people who are working, they are professionals. And because of that, be clear about your content. It's not a time to be clever necessarily. Okay, so if you say something like, do you want an extra week of holiday? Maybe that's a good hook in the sense that it grabs someone's attention, but it's not clear. Okay, it's not giving them any idea about what you're about to tell them. So in the case of marketing Bildungsurlaub to your German professionals, I would say something more along the lines of join our Bildungsurlaub approved program. Now, okay, arguably you might say, oh, well, that's not catchy. But it doesn't need to be, because it's very, very clear. You've got Bildungsurlaub. Immediately, they know what the email's about. And you have an approved or accredited or a certified program that they can sign up to. So I think that in the case of Bildungsurlaub, in the case of dealing with the professional segment of German society, being clear is much better than being clever in this sense. Also, I've noticed that all of these newsletter programs like to encourage you to use an emoji in your subject line. Please do not do that. I have yet to meet a German person that really likes emojis in the subject line. It comes across as spammy, unserious. Do not do it unless for some reason it is absolutely, that it matches or pairs so perfectly with what you're about to say. And other, and maybe, and that's just a maybe, but I would say please do not do emojis in your subject lines when you're mailing out to your German Bildungsurlaub clients, or perhaps even German clients in general.
I've done that as well, because AI always gives me emojis.
Yeah, exactly. All these AI programs say, how about you add an emoji? And when you do, then, for example, with MailChimp, it'll tell you, oh, we have suggestions, until you complete all of their suggestions. And, maybe if you are marketing to, high school students or something like this, maybe then there's an argument for an emoji. But if you're reaching out to people that maybe they are working in the automotive sector, so Germany's very famous for their very large automotive sector, is including a car in the subject line going to appear serious, or is it going to be, are you going to be marked as red or put directly in the trash? I mean, you've got to think about these things and how it might appear to the people that you are reaching out to.
Yeah. Same when you use images, photos of the school. Make sure you got your perfect client in mind. I often see like teenagers on
Yes.
Of course, they look more fresh, active as more mature people, but it's not your target group. So please make sure you got more like the more mature like us.
Yeah, you don't want to be putting pictures of your junior groups, for example. Completely wrong target market for that. So yeah, as Thomas said, really think about who you put in your images and what you want to express. Like, what's the point of your message, and try and match up your imagery as best you can with that. And saying that, you don't need to have people in suits in a classroom, because very few Germans actually work in a suit. We're very, very casual over here. So don't get us wrong when we say that and think, oh God, I've got to have a business person in a classroom. No, just make sure that the age is in the demographic that we're aiming for. That's the main thing, I think. Yeah, so Thomas, I'm going to throw this back over to you. I've talked enough. I'm going to change the slide, and I'm going to over to you.
Corinne was talking about the newsletter to clients and to companies. The other big market is the share is to send newsletters out to your agents, existing agents, or agents you would like to work with. And you need to keep in mind what you want to tell your agents, and ask yourself, what would the agents need to know from your school or from your course? And one thing is which course is suitable for or is approved for Bildungsurlaub. That's the main thing agents need to know. If you don't offer the course all year round, let them know you're only offering it during that time. What do you offer in the rest of the year? So be quite clear what you do offer. Tell them which states you approved in. If you got a new state signed up, let them know as well. If one is running out, tell them you renewed it, and just make sure they got everything they need. On our webpage, agents have an agency login area as well. So you can mention that, because it saves them a lot of time. It saves you a lot of time. And it's always good to remind them. Most of the agents do know, or they first check on our page anyway if the school is listed. But it's no harm to let them know. You can find all our approvals on Bildungsurlaub approval.com. You can download it, you can send it to the client, and it makes it easier for them and for you as well. Obviously, if you're looking at new agents, you want to give them more information, like the general information you would give to any agent. Commission, I know German agents usually have a higher commission they ask for, basically because the courses are quite short. I would suggest to do a commission scheme for repeated customers as well, because, as I said, if you play your cards right, and you can have a customer coming for the next couple of years. If you're a school with a network of other schools, or if you have more than one location, you can play around a little, say, look, if you come to another destination of our school, we give you that special whatever. And the same with the agents as well, to keep them in loop.
Absolutely. Good. Well, I think we've probably overloaded everybody with information. But we wanted to start off with something that was, I won't say easy, but we wanted to start you off nice and slow before we hit you with all the other topics. Now, as this is meant to be, this is a challenge. If anybody out there decides to write a newsletter and wants us to have a look and wants us to give you a few pointers before you send that newsletter out, they can absolutely send it in to us. You know how to get in touch with Thomas. Thomas and I will have a look together and we'll come back to you. So please do make use of our time. We're more than happy to help you get your newsletter into shape. Just do not send me a newsletter that has an emoji in the subject line.
No Easter bunny.
No Easter bunny, thank you.
I mean, it's the perfect time now. It's Easter coming up. So please do send a newsletter. If you haven't thought about it, please do it. You still have time until Thursday, and just send it out to your either German agents or German clients.
Yes.
Ideally both. Wishing them happy Easter. Easter is quite a big thing. I'm not sure in New Zealand, Corinne, is it as big as is quite big as well? So it's a big thing. Like I would say, Christmas and Easter is like the biggest festivals we're celebrating. So yeah, just say happy Easter. And by the way, to remember, our courses are recognized for Bildungsurlaub in all the states. And remind them or tell your clients no harm to wish them happy Easter as well if they've been with you or if they filled in a contact form before, wishing happy Easter and reminding them of your Bildungsurlaub and what you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good time to send out newsletters and remind people, because you've got people who haven't made their summer or fall or autumn holiday plans yet. So, you know, most people have, but there are people who haven't. So you can still make use of picking up some of these people. And also the ones of us who are extra super duper organized are already starting to plan for next year. So
I was just going to say, I've seen schools having Bildungsurlaub bookings for 2026.
Yes, absolutely. Like there's two types of people: the ones that leave their holiday to the last minute, which is me.
It's me.
And then there's people who I have friends and they're already booked their summer holiday for next year.
Yeah.
Even hit summer 2025 yet, and their holiday's booked for 2026. So now is a really good time because you'll pick up both.
Yes.
You'll pick up people like Thomas and I who are a little bit behind.
I was looking at the weather forecast earlier this morning, so I decided where to go on vacation.
Exactly. Exactly. And then you have the people who are already booking for next year.
Yeah.
So it's a really good time, and everybody is feeling really good in Germany at the moment because we've had some fantastic weather. So everybody's already in this very sort of positive vibe. So it's a great time to reach out and give them a little nudge towards Bildungsurlaub, because maybe they already have their holidays booked in, but everybody wants to be out and about and somewhere, you know, enjoying life. So it's a good time to nudge them towards a Bildungsurlaub.
Perfect.
All right. Well, you and I will be back again on Thursday to wrap things up.
Yes, we'll see lovely Bernice Camilleri tomorrow from School Agents.
Yes.
Talking about blogging and social media postings.
Excellent. Yeah.
That will be really interesting as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
social media.
Yep. And then Tamara on Wednesday with landing pages. So that's another one which is super important. So I'm really excited to see what she has to say about that as well. So
and there's some prizes to be won.
Yes, I hear there.
Yeah. So stay tuned and make sure you have a look on our Facebook page as well, Bildungsurlaub Marketing, to get all the news and all the documents we are posting there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I hope that you were able to get a few tips from Thomas and I. And again, if you have any questions, reach out. We're both very, very happy to answer your questions, whether they be about newsletters, Bildungsurlaub, or just anything German. So we'll catch everybody again next time.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
See you tomorrow then.
Yeah.
Bye.